Stocks are falling, currencies are all over the place, and gold is skyrocketing right now. In today's video, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about gold specifically, and we're going to talk about some trade ideas that I have, my opinions on where gold goes next, and a couple other different tips and things that I think about when trading gold. So stick around, let's get into it right now. Hey traders, welcome back to the YouTube channel. If you don't already know me, my name is Nick and I share all sorts of Forex related content here on my YouTube channel. If you're new, do me a big favor, subscribe to the channel down below. And if you want more gold updates in the future, give this video a thumbs up to let me know that this is helpful to you. So right now we're gonna take a deep dive on gold. We're gonna take a look at XAU USD and see what's going on with this pair. Now this is a pair that a lot of people like to trade and a lot more people I feel like hate to trade. And the reason is it's because it's a very volatile and can move quite a bit pair. And a lot of people have gotten burned, and I'm not, if that's happened to you, I'm not making fun of you because that's an unfortunate thing, and unfortunately a lot of people learn that lesson the hard way. I know myself included. I learned the hard way, not necessarily on gold, but on other volatile markets. I kind of screwed up when I was a new trader on GBP JPY, and it was a lesson learned for me. So you have to be careful about trading markets that are volatile like this. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a technical breakdown of where I think gold has potential to run to, some things to think about on trading gold, and just kind of my overall sentiment with markets right now. We see, actually, before we jump into gold, just for reference so we know the time frame, at this time we see the stock market actually selling off quite a bit. This is the S&P 500. Now gold is relevant to this, so stick around. So you can keep an eye on the S&P 500, and what you'll notice is a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times when the S&P 500 is falling, you have gold start to rise suddenly. So it's funny enough, we have the S&P 500 down quite a bit. You can see actually about 8% or so off the highs at one point trading today. So things are kind of selling off due to some fear going on at the current time. So on that basis, if we take a look back at XAU USD, what do we have? Well, we have the market here rallying to the upside. In fact, we have a very big bull rally going on with XAU USD right now. So what I want to do today is I want to talk about the technicals, but I also want to talk first again about the overall sentiment, the overall idea of what's going on. So gold is going up, up, up. We have a very bullish market, and we have the S&P 500 selling off. So what does this cause? Well, when the markets are selling off, when the stock market is selling off, that's due to a lot of times because market investors are fearful. So when we have a fearful market on the stock market, right, sometimes that can actually mean to a positive move due to fear on the gold market, people parking their money in gold as potentially a safe haven. Now, again, it doesn't work like this 100% of the time. There's not a perfect correlation to the S&P and the kind of gold market, but there is an arguable case to be made that people like to park their money in something like gold during times of fear. And we've seen gold be doing this kind of longer term uptrending movement in kind of reference to some of the fear that's been going on. We've been in a crazy bullish market at the time of making this video. The S&P 500 has had an amazing run in the last 10 years. Global economics have done pretty good across the board, right? And so there's something to be said for, this gold market starting to have a big bullish trend is something to keep an eye on. So what we have here right now is we have gold trading at 1648 at the time of making this video. And you can see we did actually spike all the way up to a point here, right around, what is this level? We could say 1689, right? Crazy, crazy movement. Now, if you've been watching my live streams, if you've been a part of the YouTube channel for a while, by the way, if you're not already a member, make sure to subscribe. If you're not already a member, or you've watched back a few months ago, we talked about gold breaking above the 200 period simple moving average as a very bullish case, right? So when price started to break and all these kind of moving averages that I'm looking at kind of started to line up, that showed a very strong bullish uptrend here on the gold market. And that is something that is not to be taken lightly. Gold is a market that can trend for quite a bit of time. So with all the fear going on, we see this trend continuing. And again, people who are trying to short gold have been having a very hard time trying to catch the highs on this move. Now let's get into a little bit of the technicals. Let's talk about kind of the overall idea here that I have on a technical perspective on XAU USD. Again, very, very bullish market here. And what I have is this zone here. Now, you might be asking, well, Nick, is it time to buy gold right now? First of all, I'm not telling you what you should or should not do with your money. I'm just going to share you my personal analysis. But my opinion here on gold is that we are a bit stretched to the upside. I think it's possible that we see some sort of a pullback, but I'm not interested in shorting this market. What that means is that just because it seems high to me now does not necessarily mean it's time to short. For example, this would have been a bad time to short. This would have been a bad time to short. This would have been an okay time to short, but along the way, there were plenty of other times where it was a bad time to try and short a very bullish market. Okay, so for me, number one I'll put is not to short. Okay, this is again just my opinion. I'm not telling you what you should and shouldn't do, but I'm telling you that my opinion is not to actually short this market. Even if the market rallies to the downside, you know, it very well could. I think that we are a bit stretched. I think that the bias here and that the edge here is with the trend, which I have been long on gold primarily in the last several months. So that's number one, is not to be short. I apologize for my terrible handwriting, but not too short is my first point. And the second point that I have on this is to, for me, look for, I'll put for pullbacks, put PB. Looking for pullbacks. Okay, that's on a very simple note what I'd be more interested in when talking about looking at XAU, USD, or the gold market in general. So those are my two big points in my own analysis. So with that said, well, we have this technical zone that we pointed out here, and it looks like price is kind of halted. We did kind of spike up to this point here at the 1680 mark, 1690 mark, and we found some seller's resistance. I think that it's possible we could see a retrace back to this point. Now, I wonder if we can get some other factors here. Let's assume for a second that the recent high here on XAU USD happens to be up here. Okay, so if that's the case, well, then this 38.2% retracement looks decent, but it doesn't quite meet up if we zoom in just a bit more on our analysis here. And let's get rid of some of these MAs for a moment. We'll put them back in a second. So from just a purely price action point of view, we take from the low here to the high here of the move of this trend to form these Fibonacci retracements. This gives us our three levels, 38.2, the 50%, and the 61.8. These are considered potential supportive levels if in fact we see a pullback, okay? So as we come to the 38.2, what we can see is that I don't really love this level quite too much because you can see it doesn't perfectly line up with our support level, which we drew right here. I'm trying to stay unbiased in my analysis. So maybe something like the 50% might actually be a favorable level in my opinion. We also have some support in this area, and generally speaking, this whole area was a consolidation zone on the long-term uptrend of gold, right? So we had this we had a series of impulse in a series of kind of back and forth motion before another break. Okay, so if price comes down to that area, generally speaking, I'm looking to be more bullish on that market in favor of, okay, well, bulls held this area very nicely. I think it's a possibility that we see bullish rallies continue from that level. So I'd be potentially interested in looking for pullbacks at this point. Now, let me add another factor on here. If we get our trend lines out, we just draw a very simple trend line along the bottom. This is also something that people have been bringing up to my attention inside of our community. By the way, if you're not a member of our community and you want to follow along with all the trades taken by myself and some of our other analysts inside, you can find out information. There's a link down below in the description. Go to a1trading.com. You can sign up to be a member of our online community. With that said, if gold decides to pull back, there's also this argument for the trend line here. And that might be definitely something to consider. We also have some longer term trend lines that I'll go ahead and throw on the screen as well. Let's get this one on here. This is one we've been watching, right? And this is the one that I really wanted to bring to you guys' attention. We have two major trend lines, but the longer term one here on the daily chart is really one that interests me. So for a second, let me just get rid of some of this stuff so we can see this idea. If we were to see a pullback here, so remember we've got this long-term trend line, so when I zoom in, you don't forget about it. So as price starts to pull back here, right? If we see this market kind of pull back to something like the 50% level, and let's say it lines up with this trend line. For example, if we started to see, a retracement, we see the gold market come down, we come down to a level like this that lines up with number one, our trend line, and number two, our supportive zone. Well, this to me looks like a potential interesting setup for a long side pullback trade, okay? Because now we're stacking a few things in our favor. Actually, three things, right? Because we forgot to include the number three, which is the Fibonacci retracement. That gives us three technical reasons and a fourth reason, which I'm going to add now, which is, generally speaking, the fundamentals, right, which in my opinion, there's a pretty strong fundamental case for gold right now. This bull rally is not just purely smoke and mirrors, in my opinion. I think there's a lot of fear going on in the world's economy, right? The markets are very, very high. At least they seem to be. They could continue higher. I'm just saying that, you know, from a fundamental perspective, we do have a very, very bullish market. And sometimes when it tips the scale, when things get so bullish that they can't handle going any higher, you get some interesting stuff happening with gold too. So with that said, those are kind of the fundamental ideas between this trade. This is a little bit longer term. We're looking here at the daily chart. And so this is a longer term concept on XAU USD. So that's the daily chart. Those are some levels, again, that I'm looking at. I'd be interested in that 50% retracement, long story short, on that trend line, that level of support in this consolidation zone here, right? That's kind of our level that I really wanted to talk about, is if we draw this zone like this, right? I like this potential setup here for kind of bullishness as a pullback in favor of this uptrend that we do see on gold. So again, recap, not really interested in being super short. I have a fundamental bias on gold being long, as well as my favorite, as you guys probably know from the live streams, this 200-day simple moving average, which has been a beautiful indicator on gold for quite a long time here. Typically gold trends very well, and the 200-day is a longer term trend indicator that I personally use in my own trading. So that's something to consider there on gold. I hope you guys got something out of this video. If you did, make sure to like the video down below. I'll do more gold videos if you guys give this video a like, and it's a video that does well. Then we'll definitely do more updates in the future on XAU USD. Guys, thank you very much. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you guys back next time.